ways where you can be in wonder, others can be in wonder, and there's that sense of fullness and completeness, that wonderment in our lives. Thinking about it's a Wednesday, how can we make it wonderful? Well, we're coming to you talking about inspiring ways to make humanity wonderful. We all have the ability to do that. We can step into our greatness, do what is our greatest gift, live on purpose. And in doing that, that allows wonder and fullness and connection and fabulousness and all those things to come together in our lives, allowing us to radiate that out to others. The key to igniting humanity is igniting ourselves. And we have guests on the show every single day, Monday to Friday at this exact time, talking about how they are living their most wonderful life, living through their ignite moments, that moment that changed them, that sparked them, that awakened them, that helped them step into a greater version of themselves. And even though it may have been difficult, they found the wonderment in it after. I'm really on the word wonderful today. And in doing so, they have decided that, well, part of their purpose is to help others, is to empower others, is to inspire others. And in doing so, we know that they are absolutely moving the needle and making a difference in igniting humanity. We love to showcase them on this show, and we hope that something they say ignites something in you. All right, well, let's meet today's guest. Luis Guaman is a, sorry if I said that incorrectly, Guaman is dedicated to helping senior level executives excel in their career while achieving a balanced lifestyle. Drawing from a diverse background in sales, leadership, team building, and martial arts, he creates a coaching framework centered on clarity, creativity, and consistency. Luis's approach helps individuals enhance their emotional well-being, personal and professional standards, and self-management skills. His coaching encourages stepping beyond comfort zones to foster personal growth. Whether you're dealing with imposter syndrome, feeling overwhelmed, or seeking to improve your leadership skills, Luis aims to exemplify strength and kindness, believing that mastering these qualities can lead to greater internal and external peace through humanity. I was so good at my wonder and wonderment thing that I messed up my guest name. Please accept my apologies. Welcome to the show, Luis. I'm so sorry. Tell me how to say your name correctly. I'm so sorry. Apologies.
No, you're completely fine. We're here. We're making this happen. So thanks.
I was like so jazzed up. I just all of a sudden the music started playing with the show, and I started watching the trailer. I got all excited, and it's all of a sudden, and then I just sort of like tripped and fell.
It's a great intro. You're all very prepared here. So.
It's a great example, though, because we can have those moments of exuberance and wonderment and fabulousness, and then we can trip and fall. And what do we do as a mindset and performance coach? Share exactly in those moments when we feel like we've flustered and bubbled and made a mistake. How do we get back on track to live a better life for ourselves?
Absolutely. That's what it comes down to, right? Too many of us are just running to walls, and a lot of those walls are mental, right? A lot of them are emotional, and they're causing a lot of things. We're just losing too much cash, too much time, too much opportunity, too much inner peace. I could go on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when we hit those walls, or we have those stumbling blocks, or we blunder like I did this morning, we start to use that sort of negative language inside of ourselves. We start to beat ourselves up or say, oh, how could I do that? What I messed up. And we use all that energy to bring us down. Talk about the ways that we can actually fortify our abilities by using more of some of your tools and techniques.
Sure. So since today is from Ignite Humanity, it's Inspiration Wednesday, right? So I think something that's very inspiring to me is having the notion of how to express yourself honestly. And so I've been a lifelong martial artist. And so my favorite hero of all time is Bruce Lee. And that's one of his most famous just concepts of how do I take what I am as a person and how do I express that to other people or just in the world in general. And so this really helped out when I was managing teams and just when I coach people now as to how you take that concept and relate it to your professional life. How are you able to use this concept to make yourself more money, to have less stress, to have deeper relationships? And that's what I help people do. Some specific things you could try to do that is to really do something, having a self-conversation with yourself, right? I know some people say journaling or some people say mirror work, but to be able to have an argument with yourself, right? That's interesting. So that's something I'm very much a fan of, having a controlled fight, a controlled argument, a healthy, and doing it in a healthy way, where you're putting up this notion. Let's say if you feel something, if somebody, let's take a more specific example. If somebody gives you some negative feedback, or someone says something negative that you feel is negative to you, then you can role play it with yourself and state it, and then be the other person. But I want you to be able to put your shoes as if you are the other person as well. And then you're supposed to take note as to what you're feeling. Stay in the pain, and then stay in, why do I feel this way? What's happening? Because so many times people run away from feeling bad. They want to either not feel or look bad to other people, or they just don't want to come off that way, and then they don't want to make sure that they don't want to be perceived in the wrong way, and that makes them all just not do anything in the first place, or not solve the problem. So being able to have that kind of notion of, you know what, making an argument on the other side of, you know, maybe I shouldn't be so hard on myself because I have done XYZ. You know what, I do feel like I'm not doing enough because I've done all, I still have this and this and this to do, this for my family, this quota to meet, this XYZ to do for promotion. But taking literally just a few minutes of, this is what I have done, right, so far. So the argument usually, for all things, is yourself. So if you're able to stick up for yourself a little bit more by when you feel these notions of these pangs of just distrust, of hurt, of shame, if you're able to literally spend time alone by when you're feeling those things, go on the other side and say, okay, well, what if that's not true? Or what can I say to combat that now that I know I have done? By just doing that, you're literally practicing how to be able to stand up for yourself with yourself, and then you can express that with other people afterward.
Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. It makes me think of a time I was cycling my bike up this mountain, and of course I wanted to give up. I'd been cycling all day. I'd put in my 6 hours. It was hot. It was like 114 degrees out. I had all these reasons to give up, and I kind of started having this self-conversation like, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just give up? Why don't you just pull over? Why don't you just stop? And then I kind of went through this idea, well, how are you going to feel when you quit? How are you going to feel when you give up? Could you go a little bit further? You know, what are you going to tell yourself when you give up? And I kind of like started looking like, how was I going to feel later in the afternoon when I gave up? How was I going to feel like when we drove to the top of the mountain instead of I rode my bike to the top of the mountain and I just, you know, hitched a ride? Like I was kind of like playing out all the scenarios with myself, having a conversation. And before I knew it, I was farther along. The conversation took a little bit of time. I was farther up the mountain. And I actually realized that giving up or quitting or all the negative stuff was going to feel worse than just the endurance that I needed to take to get to the finish line. So what a great, great, great example.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we have to sit in it to realize that sitting in it isn't really fun. Sometimes when you just need to cry or you need to express it, like go do that, be that, because that will help move you through it. Love that suggestion. Very, very nice. Give us some ideas now when we talk about mindset. Some people are feeling like, what does it really mean for mindset? My mind is my mind. Why do I have a mindset?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So going back to the concept of, let's say, expressing yourself honestly, how often do you ask yourself these important questions, right? Of just, what does a good mindset mean to you? What does it mean to you? What does success mean to you? How much of that success does it mean to you? How good are you at losing, right? What does it mean to lose to yourself? What does it mean to have a great relationship, right? What does balance mean in your life, right? So it's never usually 50-50, you know? It's usually something customized to the individual. And so just by asking yourself these questions of these things that you actually want, right? Well, what is this thing? What is the actual, if I were to get specific, what is the specific thing that I want? If you're asking yourself these things, that's how you find these answers. And that's what I help do. I create that space so people can have the time, so they can reflect, and so they can go along and find these answers and then take it into a practical way as how they live their personal and professional life on a regular basis. But that's what comes to mind, to be able to ask.
Yeah, awareness is key. When we're aware of how we're thinking, we're aware of what we're using our mindset to do. it allows us to make really good choices. And if you realize like, wow, my mindset is always thinking the negative, or my mindset is always going to the worst case scenario, or my mindset is always remembering what my parents said, that's when you need to ask for help. You need to look for assistance. You need to look for a coach. You need to read some books. You need to find other tools to help. I don't want to say trigger, but activate your mindset to think differently than its habit. Would you agree that a lot of us are just falling back into the habits of our thinking?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So when you create a good mindset, that's why, from what I stated before, it's just, what does a good mindset mean to you, right? Just kind of like how not everybody nobody wants the same exact life, right? But you need to start really get honest, right? You start need to be able to take more time for yourself as to, well, what is it that I truly want? And then you start creating what that idealistic mindset looks like. But that's where it starts.
Mm-hmm. Do you have some of those yummy questions that we could ask ourselves that you could share here on the show?
From those that I mentioned, those are just some, right? Because we could talk for a long time about questions that I usually ask. But so for some deeper questions and how it goes to yourself, right? Some questions that I like to ask myself on deep reflection is, what does a win look like? Right. So the amount of respect that I think people, professionals have on a regular basis, no matter who they are, where they're at, I think it's much lower than it should be. Right. So asking yourself a question of just, what is a win to you? Right. Do you respect the small wins? Do you only celebrate the bigger wins? Right. Being able to say, what does it mean to have a loss? Right. Are you I every week, I look forward, well, I write down on a reflection as to how did I lose last week, right? Because I look forward to that. Because if I'm not failing forward, if I'm not trying to accomplish something that's maybe a little bit outside my comfort zone, I'm probably not failing at anything, right? So, but it took me a long time to get to that notion also. So you can ask yourself, how are you failing this week? Then how do I feel about the failing? Do I feel like I'm a failure, or I'm not getting anywhere because I'm actually just going through this and wow, this is what's going wrong? Or do I feel that, you know what, I feel a little bit bad that I didn't accomplish X, Y, Z, but you know what, I'm respecting the parts of it that go into that. It's leading me towards where I want to go. So overall, it's a positive experience. So what are you doing, right? These are things I could go for a long time on this, but
yeah,
but
it's a good point. That's a
that's
good point, because sometimes we compare ourselves to the people that are doing it for longer than us or more than us. I'm actually just started last week training to run a marathon. Just started last week. My husband runs every day. So yesterday he said to me, I did 40 kilometers last week. And I was thinking like, I did like 7. So I felt really like deflated. But then I realized yesterday was my first week ever running, getting started, getting going. So doing 7K in 1 week, I was like, well, actually, I should be happy because 2 weeks ago I did 0. So it's actually really good about qualifying your successes when you compare them to you, not to somebody else or someone who runs 140 kilometers a week. To just really look at 2 weeks ago, I was not doing this at all. Today, I'm a little bit forward. I'm a little bit forward. I'm a little bit forward. I like to share with people the 1% rule. If you improve and increase 1% each day, after 30 days, 30% more, 60 days, 60% more, 90 days, 90% more. So you can do a lot with just 1% increases.
Right. I think that was popularized by the Stoics, if I'm not mistaken. That's a brilliant rule. Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's easy to do 1%, 1% more time with my kids, 1% more time on my business, 1% more time making a good meal for myself, taking care of myself, a little bit more sleep time. Tell me a little bit. Yeah.
And then I was going to say, then you can ask yourself a good question. Well, am I being patient while recognizing that? Right? What is my level of patience? What actually do I go off the handles for? Right? Well, why? Maybe do I actually put myself to a certain standard that it is too low, it's too high, or just that I'm not giving myself enough grace? Right? And that's usually it. That's usually when you gave a great example, because when we're all going through these hurdles, right? These kind of goals that we want, either physically, emotionally, professionally, and mentally, that we're looking to get to the next zone. But it's how well are you respecting yourself throughout the journey? And so many people, the grand majority of people, just don't have that power enough. They don't have that kind of respect enough. That's why I like to provide that kind of framework that people could have and build upon. But so many people just stop short. They
Yeah.
stop short because if they just did what you just said, the 1% rule, and just kept doing that, that's it. They're going to, there's a very, very high chance that they're going to get what they want. But the grand majority of people fall into the slumps of just shame, of just inadequacy, of over comparing, and disbelief. So
Yeah, your measuring stick, folks, really needs to be against yourself, not against other people, other people's successes, other people's wealth, other people's whatever. Your measuring stick really needs to be, what did I do last week? What did I do before? Where was I a year ago? I love to do the year in review. In fact, every single time I get on an airplane and I'm going somewhere, I actually think back to the last time I was on an airplane and think about like how much I've grown and what I've achieved and what I'm heading towards and what new has happened. And I kind of make that a little ritual every time I jump on a plane. And it's kind of fun to see how far you've come and measure it against yourself. It's also why I love to play golf, is because I'm just playing with me. I'm just playing my game, my stroke, my ball, my score, instead of always comparing ourselves to others. And I think that is truly a key to igniting humanity, is us just being our great selves. I can play golf, but I can't play basketball. I can't play tennis. These aren't my skills. Talk a little bit about your Ignite moment. What was the journey that you took to get where you are today?
So my Ignite moment, it was when I was running my old sales company. So I ran a door-to-door sales company for 3 years in New York. And, I was doing pretty well for, especially during a few months in the second year. But the third year I had a mental decline, so much so because I came to this notion of just not this wall, right? That so many of us that I found later on, and so many of us go through, this wall of just, this is the limit of my vision at this point in time, right? So I started questioning as to why I was doing what I was doing, or is this enough? Is this impactful enough for how I want to be pushing or expressing myself out into the world? And I couldn't create those answers. In fact, I couldn't even create those questions. I didn't even know that was something that you should be looking at, right? I didn't know that you should be adjusting, maybe on a monthly basis, like I do now, weekly basis, but yearly basis, like you were just saying, as to changing the trajectory, the directory of where you're looking to go and the impact you're trying to make. And so what happened was that if you have no vision, if you have no proper kind of alignment between what you are doing and where you are coming from as an individual as to why you're doing it, then you are going to go off the rails. So when the mentality of the people who are in charge, right, any kind of leadership, any kind of executive or whatnot, when it decreases, then the team's performance decreases. That's what happens. Like, that's it. That's what happens. So that's what happened with me. And so much so by the end of the third year, I closed the company down and started pursuing new things and learning different things. And now I'm incredibly much more fulfilled because I can actually help people avoid what I just stated that I went through. And only through years of just researching and looking and being curious about these concepts, that hundreds of thousands of people go through this on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that people aren't talking about it, or just like in classic Western culture, we're not really concerned about how we're feeling emotionally or physically. We're not really in tune with, what a lot of woo-woo people would say, just like the spiritual side and everything. But that stuff is there. It's real. So, I'm here and there for it. But that's why I'm here to really create that bridge between how do we actually express ourselves, just we circle back to the beginning, right? How we express ourselves emotionally, mentally, and physically, right? In front of other people, to be our honest selves. So be able to show up with strength, be able to be confident as to what you're doing in your work. Be confident if you need to pivot in another direction, either that be career or just different, being confident in the decisions you're making. So then you're moving forward. So you're able to fall down with more confidence. So you're able to pick yourself up knowing at least you're being picked up in the right direction. And what does that do for you? What does that do for anyone who has that? And, read every kind of successful book that's out there. When you have this kind of alignment of the right kind of mindset, but also a customized version as to how you want to move forward, right? Physically, how you're resilient in getting yourself back up to continue moving forward, much like how your story was, that's leading towards where you want to go. And that just so happens to be what success is.
Well said. Well said. You actually got me thinking of something though. Every single challenge that we've been through, there absolutely is somebody else in the world who's been through that same challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we were to just actually seek out those people and learn from them and utilize their skills, like for example, you went through this situation where you closed your business, you were having a mental burnout, and now anyone else who is feeling like I am having a mental burnout, I don't know what to keep my business open, they could seek out someone like yourself or anyone. I mean, if you really think about it, any single problem in the planet has probably been experienced by somebody already. And if you were to take the time to find out what did they do, what were their solutions, what was their path, what did they do, and if they didn't find the answer, would it propel you to want to learn enough for you to go forward and find the answer? Imagine how that would change humanity. Instead of us sitting in our worry or feeling like you said no one else was going through it, folks, we're all going through it. We all are going through it. Some of us just keep it more hidden, more upper lip, more, stern attitude. But the truth is we're all going through something in our own unique way. Why wouldn't we be more vulnerable, be more connected, be more interested in finding the solution? That would definitely help humanity.
I have something for that I think is incredibly important. So for when I actually closed my old company down, I, for the next 2 to 3 years, tried to find someone who was in the same boat or in the same direction of where I'm trying to go. And I could not, right? And I have 12 years now of sales experience. So I was going to networking events, 3 times a week. I was reaching out to people on LinkedIn, cold. Hey, are you this? Can we connect? Can we have a conversation? I was speaking to people in my network who I already knew, but I could not find anyone who was in the situation where I wanted to be in, right? So I couldn't find a mentor for that, for whatever reason, right? Maybe I just didn't see the person who was right in front of me, right? Because that's very possible. But the point is that I did not feel, and I did not find anyone. So a good notion to remember also is that you should be looking for somebody else to reach out to learn from and things of that nature. But there's going to be X amount of time, whatever time that is for you, as long as you're honestly looking, that you might not find that person, even if you're honestly looking. So what are you going to be doing when you are quote unquote alone, right? What is your power to be resilient while you are solo? And this is another topic we could talk about, just it veers off, it's just a lot. But the not quote unquote, the loneliness that is there within leadership, right? Oh, I don't know who I can talk to. I don't know where I should go now. I don't know who I should turn to. I know I have all these people around me, but you know what? I don't want to speak with them because they might perceive me as XYZ. There's thousands of reasons why this doesn't happen. But the last point on that I would want to say on that is that that's just how I feel. And it's really tough to feel like you are just literally alone with your thoughts and feelings and just emotions, even though you want to have good intentions. But in that time, what you do is you continue to build yourself. You build the resilience and confidence in knowing yourself, in knowing that you're going to be able to transcend whichever kind of obstacle is there in front of you. And as long as you keep moving forward, you're going to be able to see more glimmers of knowledge that is within the people around you.
Yeah, and stretch yourself, because I remember one time being in China in Tiananmen Square, and there was millions of people there, or maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands of people there, and I felt all alone. I felt completely alone because of where I was in my life, what was going on with me. I didn't speak the language. I wasn't connected. I didn't have any friends there. And so I just really stretched some of my edges and went up to people and started talking. Do you speak English? Do you speak English? Can you recommend? Can you? And started making friends, started taking pictures with people, started smiling more at people, started waving at little kids, making friends with their parents. I just really stretched myself to be able to push myself out of the loneliness, because often loneliness is so self-induced. And when you just open the door a little bit, so many people want to come in, flood in, help you, support you, inspire you. It really is a beautiful opportunity. Great conversations, great things to talk about. Love all of it. In closing, would you just love to leave us with something really inspiring for a wonderful Wednesday?
Leave with something inspiring. Your The stronger your inner strength becomes, the more results you're going to create. Also, you can always do more than you think. Also, all because you can doesn't mean you have to.
Absolutely. Go for it, go after it, go get it. You can do so much in your life. You have the power, the ability, and the capabilities to achieve so much. Well, thank you so much, Lewis. If you want to know more what Lewis is up to, check out his website and see how he is helping others, igniting humanity and making an impact in his city, his town, his country, the people around him, truly making a difference. One candle lights another. All right, Lewis, thanks for being here. Have a great, great Wednesday.
Thanks, you too.
Folks, I hope you're feeling inspired on today's Wednesday, wonderful Wednesday, and you're feeling that wonderment in, what can I do a little bit differently? How can I step into a better version of me? What kind of questions can I ask myself that I haven't been asking before? How can I stretch some of my limitations? How can I be more enthusiastic about what's possible in my life? These are really wonderful things to do. And if you're not finding that you're coming up with the good answers, seek out some support. You can always reach out to me. I love to help people. I make myself truly available. You can find me easily at igniteyou.life or head on over to Ignite Humanity. We've got lots of information for you over there if you'd like to know how to participate in some of our events, be a part of our amazing compilation book, write and tell your Ignite moment. We would love to support you. Head on over to our website and see what we are up to over there. We truly do want to make a difference on the planet. And what I believe is we can ignite 1 billion lives through 1 billion words. We love to help people tell their stories, become published. We love to put people on stage, have them share their Ignite moments and amazing events. In fact, we're doing an event in Las Vegas in May. If you are available and would love to come down, we'd love to invite you to be a part of our community. We are igniting lives in many different ways. We're talking about how to grow your business. We are teaching you how to do your marketing and your branding. We're talking about how to grow your book. If you want to write a book, or you would love to tell your story, or if you have a book and you'd like some more information on how to make it even more impactful in the market, or you're just looking for that breakthrough, that personal breakthrough, that performance breakthrough, all those breakthroughs, those limiting beliefs that Lewis was talking about, we'd love to have you come to our event at Gatherama. There's so much more to share. I love bringing on guests. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, fill out our type form, come see us, tell us all about you, and we will have you on the show. All right, blessings, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.